Right. Hello, welcome. It's Alex from Carringtons Estate Agent, and I'm just checking in with a daily video. And I wanted to go over a few bits that have sprung to my attention, a bit of a summary of where we're at in our process as we look to achieve the closest thing to perfection with our sales process that we can, and reflect on some of the stats and changes that have happened this year and moving into 2026. So first of all, I wanted to discuss the Rightmove house price index was released yesterday or 2 days ago. I can't remember when I got the email now, but I've just been over the sort of recent stats, and to any of you looking to buy or sell that haven't, I encourage you to go and look there. They publish all of their objective information on year-to-date asking prices, month-on-month changes, and it just gives a real accurate reflection on objective truths. Now, I will preface this by saying averages, when you look at national statistics, for example, they're pretty pointless because obviously each property, each local market, each street, each village, each town, city, etc. has its own trends and movements, and it doesn't work as simply as if one thing is happening in one part of the nation that everything follows suit. There's usually some sort of knock-on effect, but averages need to be taken with a little bit of context. But it's fun and useful information to look at nonetheless, especially when you couple it with the fact that I believe Rightmove and Zoopla were quite optimistic with regards to national house prices and their predictions. If you look back at this same time in 2024, December last year, what their predictions for 2025 was, and then sort of comparing it to the objective truth, really. And you'll probably see across the board there's been a little bit of a drop-off in terms of asking prices, especially as we move into the month of December in the London area, in other areas in general. The one thing that jumped out to me when I looked on the map of the housing price index is, I think this goes without saying, but everyone knows the English system is fundamentally broken, its conveyancing system, and it often gets compared to the Scottish system, which is much better, a much more smooth legal transaction, much less ridicule when it comes to value of property because of the way in which they do things. And in not so much, but in a very simplistic way, our process sort of copies the Scottish system in a more roundabout way. We get our sort of sales properties legally more ready. We do certain things to get them into a better position when they come to market their property, so that once they're on the market and we create a market for them and have multiple bidders and basically show them what the market is offering them for their property, owners can make a much more informed decision and a quicker exit, thus giving them more assurance, their money quicker, so on and so forth. But one thing that really jumped out for me is, since we started this process in February, our average time on the market, so since a property is listed for sale through to it being marked as under offer, is 32 days. And comparing that to Scotland, which I think most people from England would usually look at Scotland with some level of envy as to how much more smooth their sales process is, their average time until they find a buyer is 37 days, which I honestly don't think any of us in the office expected to happen, but we're currently averaging 5 days less on the market than Scottish properties, which is really quite phenomenal. Couple that with when you compare to our old way of marketing, which was 91 days on average on the market, which by the way was below market average according to Rightmove stats. I think London is averaging about 78 days on the market until a buyer is found. Now, the interesting thing about that data is that that's only for properties that actually go under offer. There is a significant amount of properties that don't ever get to the under offer stage or have to reduce their price first before finding a buyer. And what's really key to our new process is we're not having to reduce prices. We're finding buyers on average within 32 days. And here's the real kicker. Before, we were averaging 11 viewings in those 91 days. That's actually one viewing per week. Now it's 18 viewings within the first 32 days. And because of the way we structure our process, which is more beneficial for our sellers anyway, makes their life easier to plan around. We market a property, hold off for 2 weeks before we launch for an open day, whereby we open the door for a whole day to registered by appointment only viewings, and we're averaging 18 viewings in that time. So we're making sure that there is a marketplace for each of our properties, that that this market is competing against each other in a structured, timely manner, as opposed to before, when we were averaging, well, 11 viewers over 91 days is roughly one a week. So we were sort of updating buyers as to the level of competition and level of offers as and when they happened, as opposed to having a more structured format where people get to view the property, come back for second, third viewings, and then present their best offer on the property, which benefits all parties, not just the sellers but also buyers, because they have an understanding of the structure as to when they will be able to view, when they'll be able to make an offer, and ultimately that a property won't stick around on the market forever, as opposed to listening to agents' lies where someone views on the 7th week of viewing a property and they're told by that agent, oh, if you don't make an offer now it will be gone by next week, and lo and behold it's still there 2 months later. This is a massive process of trust as well, and that structure really helps build that. But yeah, 32 days on the market before finding our buyers on average is phenomenal, because we're beating Scottish properties. And then we've averaged total time down to exchange to 79 days, so just under 80 days, under 3 months before we're exchanging on properties, to take our total time from listing a property till exchange to 111 days, from where we were before at 198 days. So not quite there yet, but we've almost halved our overall time from for sale through to exchange, and we're going to look to only improve our process as we move into 2026. Now, what's really interesting is we already have a backlog of people who have instructed us to sell their property in 2026, and unlike what we used to do in agency and what a lot of estate agents will tell sellers is to their benefit, oh yeah, we can take photos tomorrow and get you on the market within 48 hours. We do not operate under those circumstances. There are many agents out there that can and can pander to you if that's what you wish to do. However, rushing your property on the market is just about the worst thing you can do, especially when it's coupled with guesswork and subjective figures as to what to list your property for. The number one most important thing you need to look at when you're selling your property, and this goes to anyone up and down the country looking to instruct their agent, is your agent's completion rate or under offer rate to what they list. So look at all of their listings, look at how many properties they are successful on, not just the ones they present in front of you that look like your property, where they sell you a dream and tell you you'd have buyers for your property. You need to look at, with a fine-tooth comb, because it's the biggest decision you'll make when you're coming to sell your property. And if you get the asking price wrong to begin with when you list your property, you're only devaluing your property. There's only one way you can go from there, which is to reduce your price. And the more times you do that, the longer you stay on the market, the less interested the general public will be. So that's a quick snapshot of the sort of changes in our process. So we're averaging more viewers, less time on the market. And this is the big one as well, 1.88 offers on average on our old strategy. We're now averaging between 4 to 5 competing bids on our new strategy. And as a result of this, I don't think there's an agency in Kingston or in London that can touch the results that we're currently achieving. And I think it's starting to get recognised. So moving into 2026, if you are looking to sell, you're in and around the Kingston, New Malden, Surbiton, Berrylands, Worcester Park, Wimbledon, Putney, those sorts of surrounding areas, please do feel free to give me a call, and I'd be more than happy to talk you through our process and how it is we deliver this consistent result time and time again for our clients. And if you have any questions or you're prepping to move in 2026, as I say, we're not about rushing people onto the market. Actually, at the moment, it takes us roughly 4 to 8 weeks to prepare and get your property what we call market ready, to have gone through every step of our sort of secret strategy and how we are pushing towards and gearing towards a 90% completion rate on everything we take to the market. So if you are interested, please drop us an email, get in contact. All of the information will be in links below. And thank you very much for listening and taking the time to watch this video.